All right, great. It is 6 o'clock on the 28th of June. Welcome to all 2022. Welcome to all the folks out there in TV land. We're ready to convene this evening's Board of Trustees meeting. We call it to order. Mr. Baker.
Ms. Orich?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here. Mr. Mills, do we have need for an executive session?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Waller. I recommend that the board move to go into executive session in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss the employment, compensation of public employees, including dismissal or discipline. Also, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G3, to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the township attorney. And that's it.
All right, are there any motions to enter into executive session for the exemptions that Mr. Mills mentioned?
I have motion that we enter executive session for the reasons Mr. Mills has mentioned.
I second.
All right, Mr. Mills, or would there be anyone else attending this?
Yes, Mr. Solman.
Okay,
And Mr. Weckbach?
all right. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, we enter executive session at 6:01. Thank you. All right, I'm going to call us back into session at exactly 7 o'clock on June 28th, 2022. Mr. Baker, you want to call the roll back from executive session, please?
Ms. Orich?
Here.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here. Mr. Mills, any action to report from executive session?
No, sir.
All right, at this point, we will do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you remain standing, please, we'd like to take a minute of thoughts and prayers for a member of the Colerain family, firefighter Stephen Hayden, who lost his life earlier this week. We keep him and his family, his biological family, but also his family at Colerain Fire and at Springfield Fire, where he also worked, in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. All right, we have Mr. Baker, the minutes.
Thank you, Board. Have the minutes from the regular meeting on June 14th, 2022, and I would just recommend approval.
I motion that we approve the minutes from June 14th, 2022.
I'll second.
All right, is there any discussion?
None.
None.
All right, hearing none, we'll call for a vote.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. Those minutes are approved. We have with us tonight a number of presentations. We will start, Mr. Mills, would you like to make the introduction?
Thank you, Mr. Waller, and good evening, board. We have 5 presentations for the board this evening. The first one will be delivered by Chief Walls, and he will be introducing and swearing in a newly promoted firefighter.
Chief, thank you for coming out, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Good evening to the board and those of you in attendance. First of all, this evening we're here for something that gives me great pleasure, and that's to introduce and swear in our newest career firefighter, Stephen Bischoff. Stephen, if you would come forward. Stephen has a bachelor's degree in fine arts from the University of Cincinnati. He received his firefighter 1 and 2 in EMT through the recruit class here at Colerain Township. He's currently enrolled in paramedic school at Cincinnati State here at the Colerain campus with a prospective EMS management associate's degree upon graduation. Tonight he'll be penned by his father, Jim Bischoff. On a personal note, Stephen was injured in a motorcycle crash and took about 3 years to overcome those injuries. And I think, knowing that about him speaks a lot about his character and integrity, and something that I wear that says the will to fight. And so, from me to you, good job. We're going to have you come over here. I'm going to have you introduce your family real quick, and then we're going to get you sworn in.
My dad and my mom are here today. Jim's on a Bischoff, and he's Oscar, my nephews, my brother Jim, and my two good buddies, Jordan and Yusef.
I thought you were nervous.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name,
I, Stephen Bischoff,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and its bylaws.
and its bylaws.
I will abide by the Colerain Fire and EMS
I will abide by the Colerain Fire and EMS
mission statement,
values,
code of ethics,
code of ethics,
standard operating guidelines,
standard operating guidelines,
and the township's policies and procedures.
and the township's policies and procedures.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of firefighter paramedic
Will faithfully discharge the duties of firefighter paramedic
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Congratulations, what a great day for your family.
Mr. Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Waller. The next presentation is a presentation by Pro Seniors and about the work that they do in our region and in our community.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Bring this down to my height. Thank you very much. I'm Dimity Orlad. I'm the Executive Director for Pro Seniors, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the services that we have available. Pro Seniors is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1975, and our mission is to enhance the independence and quality of life of seniors. Our services are all no cost. We operate somewhat like a legal aid for seniors, so all those legal services are no cost. We also have ombudsman advocacy services for those living in long-term care to help advocate for their rights. And we do a lot of outreach and education to help seniors learn how to empower themselves to avoid scams and fraud and things of that nature. I do have information I'll leave with you because I want you all to know that we're a resource when constituents are having anyone over 60, legal issues with long-term care, home care. We're there to assist, and like I said, we are a nonprofit, so it's no cost. A couple big things I'd like to mention is a great access point for our legal assistance is our statewide legal helpline. So anyone living in Ohio who's 60 years of age or older can call Pro Seniors and indicate that they have a civil legal issue they'd like help with, and we will schedule them to speak with one of our helpline attorneys for 30 minutes at no cost. So this is information and advice, helps them understand their rights and their options, get a game plan for next steps. We have a lot of information on our website, it's proseniors.org, that oftentimes people can take that information they get and then put that into action. We have legal toolkits where people can do advanced directives, wills, do things around consumer debt, that they just need a little help and someone with some legal expertise to get them there. We also follow up all those calls with, we call them fact sheets. We have like over 50 fact sheets on common issues that over the years we've helped seniors with. We do take over 7,000 calls a year on the helpline, so we have a pretty good base of information as to what people struggle with. Over 25% of the calls we receive relate to issues receiving Medicare benefits, problems with needing help on appeals, but also Medicaid, Social Security. So that's really impacting their ability to receive health care, and in some cases, if people are in a nursing home, it could leave them at risk of being discharged from the nursing home, but oftentimes our legal team can get involved and help correct that issue. There's just been, it's very complicated, as I think I'm learning. I've only been at Pro Seniors 3 years. I'm an attorney by background, but a lot of these areas of law are not something that even attorneys deal with unless they're in that area of the law or until you become of age where it's relevant. So having these resources to help people work through these issues so they can maintain good health, independence, and have access to these resources is something we can help with. We have in-house attorneys. Some people need more than the legal helpline. And for people who are of a lower income status and in our 5-county region, we can evaluate whether we can help them in-house. We also have relationships with legal aids in other regions. And then we have private attorneys who agree to accept referrals. And we make about 1,000 referrals per year through that program. And more than half of those are reduced fee or pro bono. So we're really helping, and those attorneys help us bridge the justice gap for seniors. I'm going to talk a little bit about our ombudsman program, but before I do that, any questions about our legal program?
So you've mentioned a couple times there are no fees, and then you mentioned something about if you're lower income, there would be is there a sliding scale for income, or is there no fees for that first call, or?
So any of the services we provide are no cost. Even our in-house attorneys were funded through various federal grants, state grants. We do receive statutory legal aid funding. The only time there would be a fee is if someone is referred to a private attorney on our referral service.
Okay.
And of course, that's up to the client if they would want to accept that referral. And we would ask the attorney to accept it on a reduced fee or a pro bono basis based on that client's income. When I was referencing low income for in-house, the distinction I was making, and I should have been more clear, our helpline is not income tested. So because many attorneys, seniors, especially people in rural areas, don't know who to call for legal help. So we don't restrict someone's income for our legal helpline, though the majority of our clients on the helpline are low income. But because we have such limited staff resources for our in-house attorneys, we have to make that distinction for who we take in-house. But we can, of course, usually connect someone who has the means to hire an attorney to do that as well.
So do you get funding from Hamilton County? Is this for Hamilton County residents, or if somebody from outside Hamilton County calls?
We have diversified funding, and so the helpline, it's statewide. And so because we have legal aid funding from the Ohio Access to Justice Foundation, that they're a primary legal aid, primary legal funder that supports that. We do have a separate grant from Hamilton County, and I have some materials I'll leave with you. That is allowing us to do some enhanced legal assistance for low-income Hamilton County seniors, and Colerain Township residents would qualify, basically to help screen seniors to see if they may be eligible for benefits that they're maybe didn't realize they were entitled to, so like SNAP or food assistance, but there's a lot of Medicare extra help programs that that are very underutilized. So we will do a screening, and then our attorneys can help them navigate those processes, because each of these programs have separate applications, and people get bogged down and hit walls that the attorneys can help them navigate. And so we're in the second year of that grant, and we have already helped. So each year we receive $50,000 from Hamilton County, so for a total of
Right, it's out of the
$100,000.
senior services levy.
Yes, and so
Okay.
we've already helped seniors recover more than, or obtain over $1 million in benefits that will help them then shift resources to other needs, like staying in their houses, things like that. So a lot of the benefits assistance we do in the income maintenance helps stabilize people financially.
Right, and 10 or 12 years ago, I did the review of the senior services levy, and I recall there was a line item in there, and our question at the time was, if Hamilton County's funding this to the folks in Boone, Kenton, Campbell, Dearborn, Butler, Warren, Claremont, are they using a program that's funded by Hamilton County? But it sounds like your income stream is a lot more diversified than it was at the time.
And all the funding we receive, for the most part, is restricted, so we have to so those Hamilton County dollars, we screen by
Zip
the
code
zip
or
codes. We have
something?
to be very careful about how we utilize that, because, we love it, and I try to write grants for other areas so we could take that more statewide.
It's a
But
nice trip down memory lane, but
Yeah.
could carry on.
yeah, So just keep in mind, if you run into someone who's 60 or older and needs some legal assistance, a great place to start is the legal helpline. I'll leave you information, and our staff is really dedicated to helping seniors and getting them the information they need. If you happen to have folks who are receiving, like living in a nursing home, assisted living facility, adult group home, or receiving home care, we also have the regional ombudsman program. And so this is for like the 5-county area, and it's under the Department of Aging State Long-Term Care Office. So there's a ombudsman program in every part of the state. But our ombudsman, again, at no cost, will advocate for the interests and the wishes of that resident. And of course, I know you're all aware right now the staffing shortage and, in every industry, but particularly long-term care is making it really difficult for facilities to provide the care they would like. But so our ombudsmen are there to try to help empower residents and reach a resolution that gives them the best care that is possible, and help them understand what their rights are as they're residing in long-term care. But as long as they call Pro Seniors, they'll get to the right person.
Now, can someone call you that is not a senior on behalf of their parents?
Yes, so our legal helpline, that is unique, and one of the reasons we're able to help so many people. If the client would like, we can speak to, we say like a next friend, so it could be a family member. And the only distinction we would have to make is so long as there isn't a conflict of interest. Like if somebody would say, hey, I'm calling on behalf of my dad and I want to have guardianship over him, well, that would be adversarial and a conflict of interest. Now, we could talk to him about alternatives to guardianship, but we speak to many people, or sometimes it's someone, like it might be a social worker who's helping a senior in a long-term care facility that just needs a little bit of support on that call.
Okay.
So with the proper consent, and so long as there's not a conflict, we do that quite a bit. And then even in the long-term care setting, our ombudsman, if the resident consents, we'll work with the family, and that happens quite frequently. So long as nobody in the family is a bad actor, which sadly happens more than we'd like to see. But I just wanted to let you know we're a resource for the community. Again, our sole focus is seniors. Many of our services are statewide, but we're situated right here in Cincinnati and Roselawn, so feel free to reach out. And I do have information to leave. Can I just put it over here in my should I put it here? My business card is.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for all the help you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Waller, thank you. The next presentation will be delivered by Lieutenant Phillips, and he will be discussing a recent traffic calming study in Colerain Township. Lieutenant?
Good evening, Lieutenant.
Evening, Board. You're aware we conducted a assessment the first few months of this year. You may already have a
Thank you, sir.
copy of this, but just to make sure. that
Thanks,
you-
Chris.
So, like I said, you're aware that we conducted this assessment beginning in February, lasting through May. So the report you have in front of you is kind of detailed and kind of involved and has a lot of statistics. So in the interest of respecting everybody's time, I'm just going to give a quick overview of the findings and how the study went. So it began back in February of this year, and we concluded it in May. And it was actually a collaboration at the request of the administration, and it was made up of a committee of members from administration, the police department, and public services. So I'd also like to recognize our traffic unit and public services for all the work they put into this. It was quite extensive. Our goal in it was to assess compliance with stop sign issues in some of the neighborhoods, and review some possible traffic calming options. To be honest, we initially started out looking at interventions such as roundabouts or something like that. We pretty quickly ascertained that there really wasn't sufficient right-of-way in most locations to employ something like that. So then we moved on to some alternate calming options, and we'll discuss those in a minute. All the intersections that were studied were township roadways in our neighborhoods with four-way stops. And each of the intersections, the study involved 4 phases, which lasted approximately 3 weeks per phase. Those intersections that were selected for study, there was nothing scientific about them. It was just those of us that had intimate knowledge from complaints, from crashes, from the traffic volumes. We selected Roosevelt and Gloria, Season and Windswept, Round Top, and Silva. These are all share the characteristics of being major cut-through routes. Like I said, they have frequent complaints and violations, and they're all in areas with posted speed limits of 25 miles per hour. So I think you'll find the results actually were kind of surprising, just the volume alone. But so there were 4 stages or 4 phases that we did at each intersection. The first one, we employed the digital speed signs. These aren't necessarily designed to gauge stop sign compliance, but we kind of altered their use to make it work for us in the mean or by way of gaining average speeds. So in the numbers that you'll see, there's some really high maximum speeds, and the digital radar signs cut off at 5 miles an hour. So we kind of have to discard the top and bottom, and it comes up with an average. So for the first phase of the study at each intersection, we employed the digital speed signs, but had the display turned off. So the sign was actually gathering and calculating data for us without alerting drivers that their speed was being monitored, just so that we could gauge a baseline of what the normal behavior in that location was and have something to go back and compare it to later. The next phase then was we actually removed that sign in the event people recognized that sign, and installed what we refer to as educational or informational signs. And a little more on that later, but there was positive and negative feedback on those signs. Basically just the signage, and I think you've seen them in North College Hill, that remind drivers of the fine for violating the stop sign. We then returned the digital speed sign to that location, to that stop sign, and left the display off. Again, to gauge the impact of that signage that we had posted, to see if that made any impact. And then after a period of gathering data there, we turned the display on, keeping in mind that these speed signs are actually mounted on the stop sign post itself. So you can see, obviously, it took quite a bit of time over all those intersections. The total volume we assessed over this was quite surprising. It was close to 500,000 vehicles. Yeah. So, and we did both directions on Roosevelt, both directions on Season, and both directions on Round Top. And there's probably people that saw the signs out there. And each intersection, surprisingly, was relatively close. Round Top and Silva probably had the highest. And there was a little period in time where one of the equipment was down there. So Round Top and Silva saw a little bit of the highest, but relatively the same volume, actually. So, and our findings, the trend, there's a couple of exceptions, but the overwhelming trend identified for us that the intervention that we employed did have an effect on the driver's behavior. The first one being those educational or informative signs did actually have a slight effect in slowing the average speeds. But like I said before, they did receive some mixed feedback, positive and negative, about the language or the tone of the sign. The digital speed signs themselves had the most effect in changing the driver's behavior, just that visible, hey, here's your speed, slow down. And again, as you look, and that received a lot of positive feedback when we were out there, either mounting the signs or changing the batteries. And I didn't hear any negative feedback come back at all on the digital speed signs, or the radar signs. So I think our biggest takeaway from this was, in terms of what we did with this study, the interventions as far as traffic calming involving roundabouts really isn't a viable option in most places for us within the township roadways. And our most cost-effective means, and I think we've kind of seen this in other studies, I think our most cost-effective means is through the use of the digital speed signs. I see you guys flipping through, you've got some data there that shows the...
Could you tell the people that are watching what the data at 79 miles an hour being clocked and what the speed average or maximum speed that you clocked with the signs went down to, 43 on one, 59 on another. I mean, they were quite significant.
Quite significant decrease, yes.
Yes.
And I'll attribute that to the speed sign.
Right.
And again, I think it's just an informational a public awareness. That I do it. If I'm driving somewhere and I see the sign, whether I'm speeding or not, just like when you see a police car, right? You slow down regardless. Kind of the same concept. It's
You
just
never know if there's radar in there taking your license plates, that's why.
or a picture or
Right.
So, no, it's just, I think, out of sight, out of mind versus more visible in your face. Hey, slow down, you're in our neighborhood, you know? And again, I was actually pretty happy with the results, based on the fact that we employed a tool that really wasn't designed for that, but still, we adapted it and used it to show the effect. And like you noticed, a pretty significant effect. And again, if you throw out, there's some 73, 79s in there, and I've seen those violations myself out on patrol. But if you discard some of those, and remember, it's not capturing anything under 5.
Right.
So the average is gonna be skewed a little bit anyway. But if you discard a couple of the higher numbers, I think you'll find that your speed is actually even lower. The other thing you have to look at when you mention average, remember we're taking a radar tool, and radar will capture speed 1,000 feet down the road. It doesn't tell us in the study or in the data that it collected how close those speeds were. So to say that the average speed was 53 or 47 miles an hour doesn't mean the average car going through that stop sign was 47. What we're looking for is to show that decrease in speed, because that still could be 600 feet down the road that it's capturing that data. We're happy with seeing that reduction in speed. That makes sense.
I got it, yeah.
And I think it's a great report, and it reminds me of a speed check we did on Blue Rock Road a few years ago. We had a complaint that cars were flying past this man's driveway, and we had the equipment set up for a month, and the top speed was 71. The next top speed was 52, and most of the speeds were between 30 and 35, and a lot of people do go the speed limit. Just, if you take the top 3 numbers and the bottom 3 numbers off, you'll get a real average of what it is.
Consistent with the findings
Right.
here.
And so when Kathy says 79, yes, somebody was going 79 through that neighborhood, and which is beyond ridiculous, but most of the speeds aren't near
They're
there.
not. The majority of them aren't. And the other thing to consider when you see those high speeds, and I'm gonna hope it's not a police car, but you're going to have emergency vehicles exceeding the speed limit to get to emergencies. It's not gonna tell us if it was them. And you're also, I'll be honest, when the speed is displayed, you're going to have people drive to see how high they can get that number. And for everybody watching, it cuts off at 45, so you won't get it above 45. Ours is set to stop displaying at 45. So they may have.
Even though you're
driven
going
through at
79, it'll just
they're
show
slowing enough to show
45.
up to 45. So there are those people who will try to see just how high they can get it. And I think that probably accounts for some of the higher speeds that you'll see. So like you said, I think for the most part, people do drive the speed limit, but here's now this visual reminder from the speed sign, hey, slow down. And I think, again, the big takeaway for us is that's probably our most cost-effective traffic calming measure that we can employ.
And how many of those do we have now? We had 4 a couple years ago, so we have 7 total sets.
Correct.
Lieutenant Phillips, do we know if it made any impact on actually stopping at the sign? It's hard to tell because of that.
Short of a camera or an officer sitting there, it's really hard to gauge.
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to say that it did based on the data I'm seeing, because the average speed approaching that sign, be it 400, 600, 300 feet down the road, is decreasing. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yes, I tend to believe it would be consistent with the speeds we're seeing. If the speeds are reducing, I'm going to think that people were probably stopping for the sign as well.
Thank you.
Nice work.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Our next presentation will be delivered by Mr. Dave Moravec, and Mr. Moravec is the president and CEO of our Colerain Chamber, and he will be discussing the first annual, are we calling it first annual? Old-time baseball game.
Are you playing in it?
That's yet to be determined by the weather. Thanks for having me, and thanks for giving me a couple minutes to share, and thanks for your participation in the event as well. I know all 3 of you have agreed to throw out the first pitch and pass out free root beer and what? Yes, you did. You said you'd be there at game time. But we're excited to put together a community event as the Chamber of Commerce. We have approaching our 8th anniversary as a Chamber of Commerce, and for this purpose, I brought one of our signs that we've begun delivering to our longstanding chamber members, 42 of which are foundational members that started with us back in 2014 and are still with us. We've had many Chambers of Commerce members that have left the Chamber of Commerce for a variety of different reasons. But we've grown the Chamber from 150 to over 230 businesses, with 130 new businesses that have joined just during this COVID period. For those who don't know, we were awarded the top Chamber of Commerce for small chambers of commerce across the state of Ohio. I'm very proud of that. Anybody who wants to see the plaque is over near my office. But we're excited about being able to bring something additional to the community, to bring the community together, so to speak. Last week we had the Hometown Heroes event, and for those who participated in that event, we celebrated 3 veterans in the community, including Larry Shadd, who's a part of the Colerain Historical Society, gives tours out at Colerain Heritage Park. And as well as Judge Ted Winkler, Ralph Winkler, who is recognized and dedicated to the probate court and to adoption services in the Hamilton County. So the baseball game was intended to bring something back to Colerain that, as a Chamber of Commerce, that we could give back. I met the organizer of the 1869 Red Stockings at the Harvest Home Fair in Cheviot last year, and after conversations about how they play the game, what would be involved, and specifically their mission, which is to give back to communities and look for opportunities, not necessarily for fundraising for organizations like ours, because this is not a fundraiser for us, but for ways to give back to the community. And as we looked at the timeline for their current schedule and events, it just became apparent that the July 3rd, July 4th weekend would be a perfect fit for their schedule and for the community. So in bringing the game together, we have assembled what we're calling, and you'll see it on the tickets that I put in front of you, the Colerain Chamber All-Stars against the Red Stockings, and this is an inaugural event. Our hope was that if we could make this a successful event, that the Red Stockings would come back. Maybe the makeup of the team will look different next year. But I'm a passionate baseball player myself. I played over the last 8 days, 5 games, including catching a full game last night and on Sunday afternoon in the heat. Full catcher's gear, fast pitch baseball, but this is not it. 1869 rules are a gentleman's game. You actually toss the ball, and strike isn't actually called against you unless you miss the pitch. So you could foul it off 100 times and still not have a strike on your record. There's a variety of different rules that are played. If a ball is hit in foul territory, as an example, and it bounces one time, the player can dive and catch it and make an out, even on a bounced play. What's unique about this particular event is we've invited several chamber members that are nonprofit organizations to have their services and programs on display, some games for the kids, an opportunity for Side by Side to give away children's books, as an example. Side by Side, if you don't know, has given 75,000. That's a huge number. Of children's books across this community just over the last couple of years. Those are to children in need. The number is 60% of families below the poverty level don't have a single children's book in them. So by supporting programs like that as the Chamber of Commerce and bringing nonprofits, the township, the schools together with the area businesses, our hope is that we can make this a better place to live and work and to play. To that extent, most of you know that the Team Up to Green Up initiative, along with the residential cleanup program supported by the township, over the last year or two has been phenomenal. The recognition across the community has been great for both the Adopt a Block program and the commercial recycling. Our hope is to increase that visible awareness so that more businesses that are attracted to this community have a choice of a quality community. If you're looking as a business owner at moving to Westchester or to Blue Ash or to someplace else besides Colerain, and you see nothing but trash on our street, you have an option to look elsewhere. And our hope is to raise the level of awareness. So our Team Up to Green Up folks will be out at the park on Sunday afternoon. Game is at 1 o'clock. We have a 11:30 opportunity for some of the kids, and not so many kids. We'll have adults practicing on the field until about 1 o'clock, and then we'll have a national anthem sung by the same individual who sang for the Memorial Day service for the township. He's coming out. The Cub Scouts are doing a flag recognition. We've got prizes, trivia questions in between innings, and it should just be a fun time in support of the 4th of July festivities here in the township.
And you said all pitches are underhand?
They are. Yeah, absolutely.
And the Hometown Hero event, you did a superb job. It was
thank you.
very nice.
Thank you. We had over 200 people at that event at the Willow Event Center, supported extremely well by the community. It's our largest fundraiser, and what I see is coming together, a seaming of the township and the schools. Superintendent, why is this? Yeah, Daryl Yater, he's going to play in the ball game. We have a representative from the police department, a representative from the fire department playing on the team. We've taken into account as many things as we possibly can. In fact, I even checked the long-term forecast for Sunday, and we're hoping for no rain. So that would be terrific for both the event and for the fireworks on Sunday night. So I'm happy to be here, answer any other questions about the Chamber of Commerce. I'm more than happy to come back at any point to give you a report on the game or the success of our...
Thank you so much for coming out, and thank you for organizing this. I think it's going to be a terrific event. And one thing that you did stress in all the literature, and I'll just repeat, is it is going to be family friendly. So, so bring your kids, and there's not going to be, there's not going to be like the Los Angeles or the Angels of Anaheim and the Seattle Mariners 2 nights ago.
No. What I will add is that this, as an inaugural event, I'm the only full-time employee of the Chamber of Commerce, so this is volunteer-based effort to keep the resources down on the township. We'll have parking folks both at the park itself and at the elementary school. But if it is successful, and we're planning for as many as 200 to 500 people, we've got free root beer, and UDF is bringing out free ice cream through their Homemade Brands ice cream. You can have unlimited ice cream. If you can find a way to make a root beer float out of it, then all the better. But my hope in not using the concession stand, not having hot dogs and popcorn and all the stuff that goes along with it, is to be able to gauge what the community will support. Social media is a wonderful thing, if in fact it works. So if 200, 300, 400 people come out, as they do for some of the concerts and the movie nights at Colerain Park, then maybe we can build on it the following year. But I didn't want to be overly ambitious in our first year, not knowing whether 50 people would come. And I think we're going to be able to have a terrific event.
Are you having a book donation drive that day? You said you're going to have some tables set up there.
The side-by-side is actually the other way, going to be giving out books to families with kids.
Okay.
They give them out 5 at a time, age appropriate. So if you've got a kindergartner and a high schooler, each is going to get 5 books that are age appropriate. And they've been doing that for the last 2 years. I'm happy to volunteer for their organization. They're strong chamber members, but you'll see the 20 bins around the community that are painted. Those are donation locations, for those books. They may have one out there at the event.
I was just trying to push some, bring a book.
Bring a book, yeah, sure, absolutely.
I think that's great, Dave. Thank you so much for putting it together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
Great.
good. Thank you, Mr. Moravec. Our final presentation this evening is a proclamation recognizing July 11th as Ronald C. Harris Day in Colerain Township. And Mr. Wallet, I have the proclamation here for you.
Thank you. I will go ahead and read that proclamation, and then I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then we can have a vote on it. All right, proclamation recognizing July 11th, 2022 is Ronald C. Harris Day in Colerain Township. Hamilton County, Ohio, be it proclaimed by the Township Trustees of Colerain Township that whereas Ronald C. Harris has been a resident of Colerain Township since 1961, and whereas Ronald Harris served in the United States Marines in 1951 working on airplanes, he graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a degree in criminal justice and worked as a Hamilton County bailiff. And whereas Ronald went to Chase College of Law to become a lawyer and was an attorney for 43 years, and whereas during the 1980s, Ronald served as Colerain Township trustee and also served on the Colerain Township Board of Zoning Appeals, and whereas Ronald has 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren, he enjoys spending time with his family, reading, writing, history, and playing golf. Ronald is celebrating his 90th birthday on July 11th, 2022. We're proud to honor him on his 90th birthday celebration and wish him continued health and happiness. Be it proclaimed that the Colerain Township Board of Trustees does hereby recognize July 11th, 2022 is Ronald C. Harris Day in Colerain Township.
I would motion that we approve the proclamation recognizing July 11th, 2022 as Ronald C. Harris Day in Colerain Township.
I'll happily second that.
All right, discussion?
It sounds like Mr. Harris has been around for quite a while and probably knows a lot about the history of our township, so.
A happy future birthday to Mr. Harris, and just an incredible legacy.
No other comments?
All right, we'll go ahead and vote.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes?
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. That concludes our presentations this evening.
All right. Is this the updated, do we have any more out?
No, sir, I believe there's just 3.
Okay. Ms. Wright? Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, thank you.
I have a couple of things on the agenda to speak about and a couple of things not on the agenda. I would like to ask the trustees to please reconsider dissolving the We Thrive program that is presented tonight on the agenda. The recommendation of the staff is to dissolve that. I encourage all of you to please reconsider that.
Thank you.
Second question or statement I have this evening is, in previous meetings, I've spoken about the vacant building maintenance license agreements with commercial and residential property in the township. Recently, I had a public records request, HR 22001776. I requested all of the commercial agreements, registrations that we have on file at the township from January 1st through May 31st of 2022. We have 1. There are quite a few that are foreclosures that are registered in that maintenance program. And just to remind the people that might be watching, we have outsourced this to a third-party company in, I believe it's Florida, to enforce this. And as anyone watching will know, there's more than 1 vacant commercial building in this township. And I'm wondering why this has not been followed through. I'd like to give a shout out to Pro Seniors. I have the pleasure of volunteering for them and have since 2020. They are a great asset to Hamilton County and Colerain Township. And anyone who has any spare time, I would ask you to please take a minute and volunteer if that's something you might be interested in. And their number is 513-345-4160. They really could use some people with some spare time that have a softness in their heart to help others out that are unfortunately in long-term care facilities with often no visitors ever. Anytime, no time, they're by themselves. Question I have about the litter pick-up employees that the township employs. Supposedly we have 3 of those. I'm wondering if we still have 3 of those, because I have unfortunately noticed an increase of trash on Colerain Avenue. It was looking pretty good there for a while, but unfortunately it seems to be on the downward slope. Also tonight we have quite a few abatement and property issues. Something interesting looking over that list, there are 19 properties, and 4 of those are rentals. 4 of them are repeat offenders. So that means that within the last year or so, that property has been cited, and now they're cited again. And then I'd like to say thank you to residents who care about the community they live in and take the time to report issues they see. And 8 residents commented or reported properties in the township through the CSR system and are now on the abatement list. Also say what a great asset our pickleball court is. I am probably the most unathletic and uncoordinated person there is, but I actually managed to play pickleball. And it was a lot of fun, and I really can't wait to do it again. In some of the things that we've discussed about the future of our township and relocating different parts of the administrative offices, the police department, and things like that in our long-term projectivity, they were talking about perhaps relocating the senior center to another facility here on campus. I was curious, how would that affect the Chamber of Commerce? Would they be leaving that building as well? And has anyone foreseen where perhaps they might relocate to? As far as our township website, I know we have a new communications specialist, and the page of our website, those pictures have been up there since 2017. Can we maybe get some new pictures besides of the apples in a basket at a farmer's market that we don't have? And just one more thing, I went to the coffee with the chiefs. I knew they were probably a little surprised to see me. I was surprised to be up and out at 9 a.m., but it was a great turnout. I really enjoyed speaking with other residents. But one thing struck me. A resident made a comment to me that they really enjoy coming to these meetings because they feel welcomed. And I thought, wow, why don't they feel welcomed if they go to a trustee meeting? What's the difference? So I just thought I'd share that with you and to maybe encourage people to come out to meetings and feel that they're listened to and appreciated for being here and part of the community. And I wondered if either the 3 trustees, the township administrator, or the law director have any updates on any pending legal settlements that have happened with the township recently. You usually bring those up when you win. I was just wondering why you didn't bring it up when you lost. Thank you.
Right, Mr. Bardak. Welcome back, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Rich Bardak here on behalf of Mid-America Mortgage, holds a first mortgage on 3484 Niagara Street. And we received an email from Chris Caballero on, hope I said his name correctly, on June 16th. And as of that date, he re-inspected the property, and only 2 issues remain. One is the driveway, which we're well aware of, and that's under contract to be repaired within the next month, I believe. Don't hold me to that, but I believe it should be replaced within the next 30 days. It's trying to find someone to do the work. I believe there's a contract pending to do that work. The only other issue was minor siding repair. It looks like a little piece of vinyl siding fell. It's about 2 inches in width. That can be tacked up. There's a contractor that's going to be retained to fix that. Other than that, per his email, everything else looks great. I said I don't think there's anything substantive left that needs to be done. Certainly from a property standpoint, the driveways will be repaired, expected to be repaired within the next 30 days. So based on all of the above, we request that any orders be removed from this property or re-inspected within 60 days to confirm that the driveway's been fixed. And the minor siding issue, which is it's like a 2-inch piece, looks like it just fell out of alignment. All the major issues from the structural standpoint are completed.
And that's the one at 3483 or
3484 Niagara.
I just want to make sure I heard it right. Thank you.
So I'm sure Mr. Caballero can confirm what I've said based on his email and based on all the above. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. But I believe from a substantive standpoint, all the major issues are resolved. The driveway, it's going to be fixed. I'm sure there's plenty of driveways that are a similar situation in the community.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy Moore.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was unable to attend the last meeting, but I had sent in some questions, and Mr. Waller was kind enough to read those questions, but there were no answers to those questions. So I would like to know, what are the tentative future plans for the Senior and Community Center and the impound lot? There was vandalism at a park restroom, and it was questionable as to whether or not a camera had captured any of the people involved. I'd like to know if that was. Regarding the contract with Anthem and Superior Dental Care for employee benefits, what does the township pay for a monthly or annually administrative cost? And how much does each employee or elected official receive from the township for SHA, which would be single, employee in one, or family? And what were the two properties that just sold, what were they sold for? And there's several new developments going up, one on Pippin at Lake Gloria, and then the one on Springdale. And I was just wondering if traffic studies had been done for those new developments. And I wish Ron Harris a happy birthday. He has been around for a long time. And I'm sorry to see that he couldn't make it tonight. And the last thing is I see that you have a resolution to dissolve We Thrive under administrative reports. It looks like the decision has already been made, and if you would, please explain your reason for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Last, we have, and I don't know, we have two names here, so I don't know who's going to be speaking, or if both, Samika Simpson and Robert Mays.
Hi, good evening. My name's Samika Simpson. I brought my husband, who's Robert Mays, because he's been doing a lot of the work on the house with the contractor that we have. So I wanted to kind of explain the pictures that I showed last time was the inside and the code, the things that are on the code for it's like the gutters and the outside. He can explain that he can get that done. The windows is what we're battling with, the windows and the siding. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we waiting on that stuff. The windows in the side, the windows they had out, with Window Nation, they had out like 8 to 12 weeks before they can even get out there and put them in. And then the siding, really the same thing. It's a little bit sooner, because I went to the store and they don't have that, and they have to get it in. But as far as the gutters and siding, gutters, everything minus the windows, I can pretty much get done. It's just the windows I won't be able to get done because they're gonna come and do it. We got a company that's gonna come and do it. Window Nation.
Is this 3484? 83?
Yes.
So really just asking for the time for the windows, because I think that was the biggest thing that was on the code. Like I said, they're saying out 8 to 12 weeks. So that's the time frame we're looking for them to come and install the windows. And I think everything else
Can be done.
Within a month or so.
And have you spoken to Mr. Miller and laid out a timeline here that's agreeable, or?
we spoke today. I think I had a misunderstanding of the 2 weeks from last time, because I thought that it was based off of the time frame you were given. I didn't know I thought he needed those things done within that time frame, and I knew, and I kind of talked to Mr. Miller outside in the hallway after that meeting and explained, like, I had a house fire. I even had Lowe's come out, and they denied trying to do the windows because of the framing around the house. They said they couldn't, they wouldn't be able to put a warranty on it. So that's when my husband found this other company. But I didn't know we needed that plan. And I guess, like I said, there was a misunderstanding from last time.
Additional questions?
I didn't know anything.
All right, thank you very much. If we could respond to a couple of these. Great, Ms. Wright, that you like pickleball. I have to figure out the rules because I've never played. Yeah, well, that's a problem. Mr. Mills, the vacant registration, maintenance, and commercial, I think we were given some numbers a couple of weeks ago, but what is the situation with that?
Yeah, I reported that 2 weeks ago, and at your request.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to deliver an update today.
Okay. I will follow up with that and see. That's been a big issue because I want to take care of those too. The litter pickup situation, or do we still have 3?
Yes.
The township facilities, and I'll kind of speak to this, and maybe Mr. Mills, you could follow up. So we did engage a firm to do a kind of a long-range plan on what facilities would be used and what facilities may be moved or not moved. That plan was, I guess we accepted the report is what we did. We haven't made plans past that because our goal, our moving target has been the 2 firehouses. In it, they do make recommendations about the senior center. They do make recommendations about the impound lot. But I, for one, haven't given 2 thoughts to replacing those right now, especially with a $13 or $14 million bill on the horizon for 2 firehouses. I can't speak for the other 2 trustees, but so it's just because it's in the report. It's akin to the report that they did that they were going to close left turns off of Colerain. When they did the Colerain KZF report. I'm not going to do that. Even though they recommended it, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to do it. And to build a new senior center on the heels of 2 firehouses is a little bit, or to move things around is a little bit expensive. It's kind of a long-term goal. Would that be a fair assessment?
Absolutely. A master facility plan has a time horizon of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's a way of thinking cohesively about the needs of our different departments and what facilities we have currently, and projecting growth or contraction, what the needs of the future will be. So we're ready when those things come.
And I think for me, the other thing is we understand what maintenance needs to be done so that we don't run into this ugly monster in government called deferred maintenance, where one day along the line, us 3 pass a bunch of bills to the next 3 trustees. The website, I don't know, are those stock picks on that? Is that?
No, that's from, there's a great corn stand up at Old Colerain and Colerain. The Burwinkles run that, and I think I think Ms. Wright was referring to the Burwinkle farm stand. We, every couple of years, get new photographs taken of the township, and I think this year is one of those years. So,
Okay.
And we also have, we're in the contract that we have with our website provider allows for a refresh every couple of years. That's going to be either this year or next year. So there will be a reskinning of the website and hopefully fresh photos too.
And I think, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but I think everybody would agree the Coffee with the Chiefs has been a very successful program and fantastic. With Mr. Bardak, 3484 Niagara Street, the 2 issues that remain, do we have, I guess if we talk to Mr. Miller about this, do we have a plan forward? Because in the resolution, it indicates, okay.
Yeah. I think, so, again, I think that the best course of action with these dilapidated properties is to have the resolutions adopted, unless Mr. Miller has new information. And then, and then once we have a plan, and what I mean by a plan is actions and dates. And then as time moves on, when those dates come, then we can check and say, did that action occur? And if that action did occur, then of course that's the best possible outcome, is that we have a home that has been invested in and is no longer a blighting influence on the township or the community.
So it might be out of line now and inappropriate to ask now, but is that something that you or Mr. Miller can unilaterally then remove it, or would we have to then vote again?
No, I think that you're granting the authority to do the demolition, but like I said, the point is to have the blight removed, hopefully by investment in the property and the fixing up of those properties. But if not, these didn't just happen overnight. These have been in our community for a long time and have been a blighting influence for a long time. So the goal is to remove the blight one way or another.
All right, and then from Mrs. Moore, the senior center impound lot. So I guess I misunderstood that question last time, because I think it's based upon the facilities report that we had. That doesn't necessarily mean we're going out and doing it now, but she had asked about the future of those. The camera at the park, I think we talked about how it wasn't completely clear, but there was something on there. Is that?
I don't know if we want to talk about an active investigation,
Okay.
but perhaps the
I think Chief answered it last time, so they had some information. The administrative costs.
I don't have that.
Okay.
I believe it was in the packet the meeting that we adopted the Blue Cross and Blue Shield contract. That has every question that you could ever possibly have about our health insurance is included in there.
And I think it was a per person, per individual cost or something. Traffic studies for new developments, those are required. I think they've been done.
Engineers are engineer.
Yeah.
And so there's no traffic study that's required by Colerain Township, but because we're a township, we use the Hamilton County engineer as our traffic engineer, and whatever requirements they have, the developers have to meet those requirements.
Right, and Ms. Simpson, Mr. Mays, will be talking about those later as well. So that's the 3483 Niagara as opposed to the previous Mr. Bardak 3484 Niagara. Okay. Those, I think, that'll dovetail into your administrative report, I guess.
Yes, sir. And typically the second meeting of the month, the administrative reports are abridged, but we do have a couple of updates for you. I'd like to start with Chief Walls, Fire Department.
Thank you for having me again. Good evening to the board. I'm back this evening, though, to speak from a point of great sorrow and sadness, and that being the loss of firefighter paramedic apparatus operator Stephen Hayden. For those that do or don't know, Steve worked part-time for us and was career or full-time firefighter for the Springfield Township Fire Department. Steve had been here for about 10 years. Some of us in this room know that Steve had overcome great adversity to become the young man that he is and the loyal servant that he's been to this township. For those that do or don't have social media, I don't know if they can zoom in on this. Or not?
Oh, you mean Waycross?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it, thank you. Steve was a 33-year-old man who died too soon. He was in recruit class when I was a division chief of training. Steve was a hard worker, a loyal person to the township. Moving forward, we and Springfield Township jointly transferred his body from the coroner's office to Spring Grove Funeral Home today. There'll be a visitation from 9 to 12 on Friday, with service to immediately follow at Spring Grove Funeral Home on Spring Grove Avenue. And there will be a procession then leaving the cemetery, going by Springfield Township Station 79 on Winton Road, traveling by our Fire Station 26 on West Galbraith Road, with burial to be at St. James Cemetery. Thank you for the time to honor and remember Steve.
Thank you, Chief.
So the timing on that procession, when it passes, do we have an idea of if people want to line that route, which I'm sure they will? Or is this something maybe we could put out in social media too, or?
Yeah, so what we can do is it's out on Springfield Township's page right now. I can get with Battalion Chief Khan, and we can get that posted through the township. It will be coming across Compton Road, left on Pippin, right on West Galbraith, pausing at Station 26, and then left on Cheviot Road to St. James Cemetery, which is on Hubble Road. I would anticipate being in the township somewhere around 2 to 2:15. But we'll get this information posted on our social media sites as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'd like to invite Mr. Weckbach up to talk about our fireworks event.
Good evening, Board. Just wanted to give a brief update because we do have a lot going on this weekend with the 4th of July fireworks and the 5K and everything else going on. So you heard from Mr. Moravec earlier tonight about the baseball game. That's actually going to be at Colerain Park. That's earlier in the day. After that, I'm encouraging as many folks as possible to come out and watch our great, beautiful fireworks show. We're going to have a live band, music, food trucks, all kinds of great things going on. There will be a road closure, though, just so everyone is aware, starting at 6:30. That's going to be on Springdale Road. It's going to be on both sides of the road. Some local traffic will be able to get through for a very short period of time, but after that, it's going to be a hard closure to make sure that all of our pedestrians are safe at the actual event. There will be shuttle buses to help folks get to and from the event at the start and at the end. However, if you're able to walk, you're more than free to walk down or up Springdale Road, depending on if you park at the park or at the mall. And then after we conclude all the fireworks on July 3rd, we will actually have the Pray, Hope, Believe 5K, which will be here on site on the 4th. And that's one of the biggest 5Ks on July 4th in our region. Brings a lot of great folks in for a great cause. And so I encourage you all to stop out at that as well as you can. I know weather is something that is always of concern. So we are actively watching what the weather forecasts look like, how that's changing over time, because in this region, it changes overnight. So I'm encouraging folks to sign up through Alert Colerain. If you've already signed up, you should have gotten a notification from the system asking you to opt into firework updates. If you have not, once you sign up for Alert Colerain, you can use the hashtag CTFireworks to get more direct information. So that'll be one of the first ways that we put out information about any cancellations of any of the festivities. It'll also be ways that we'll send out information throughout the event. So, for example, if there's a missing child or something like that, that's a good way for us to get the word out to help find the parents or shelter in place or whatever else it might be. So just wanted to give that update for this weekend. And if you all have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Weckbach. We are very excited about that, which is our biggest event of the year. Always a good time. I just have one update for the board. Currently, the first piece of public art in the township that I can think of is underway. There is a mural that is being painted at the corner of Pippin and Adams. The muralist is a local muralist who has done work all throughout the region or throughout the country. He was recently recognized as a hometown hero by the Chamber Board. His name is Josh Stout. He went to Houston Elementary and all the way up through high school here. And the mural theme is in keeping with the Northbrook brand, which is related to pollinators and butterflies and flowers and all the work that the Greater Northbrook group is doing. Hopefully this is reinforcing that, and can't wait to cut the ribbon on that beautiful project and bring Colerain Township's first piece of public art to the community. And that concludes our administrative reports.
All right, trustee reports.
I have another thank you to Chief Walls back there. Your 3 paramedic firefighters came to my house and were extremely helpful with my mother-in-law. And now I got the information of Pro Seniors, so I have to be using that. Thank you again.
I'll go next. Hey, Jeff. So, thank you for the time, Mr. Wallert. Thank you to our fireworks sponsors. It's a thing to donate money and help our community have a nice 4th of July event. And I think you may have had a conversation with another prominent business in our community, Duke Energy, the other day, and you were working out perhaps a small sponsorship with Duke.
Yes, sir. So they have committed to joining our group of sponsors as a new sponsor this year. And boy, we got that resolved just in the nick of time. I believe that they're going to be able to be on all the T-shirts and the banners and everything. So we welcome and thank them for their help in putting on the. Great,
and thank you, Chad Schaefer. I know you probably watch all of our meetings. Probably not, but thanks anyway, Chad. Stephen Hayden. I remember the day Stephen Hayden was born. I am a good friend of his uncle, and I was at his parents' wedding in 1979, and his ancestral family has been in Colerain Township. If you go on our website and look at the historical maps of the township and look down where the road that's called Daleview is now, and I think at the time it was called Thompson Road, that section of Daleview, you will see that his great-great-grandfather had his farm there. And the family lived on that property until about 1983 when Stephen's grandparents moved off of Daleview and onto Hanley Road. He is at the very least a sixth generation Colerain Township resident. And he was fully employed full-time by Springfield Township, and he was a part-time employee here, and he's a fine young man. And I saw him most recently at our firefighter appreciation event in March. And to Karen and Adam and John and his sister Robin and to the rest of that family and to all of our firefighters and everybody that knew Stephen, the deepest sympathy of the Board of Trustees and myself, and we are going to miss having him around. He slept away the other night at the young age of 33, and that's not good. Over the weekend, I did walk Colerain Park, and it's in very good condition. It looks like the goats had their way over there and cleaned out a lot of the growth this year. And I found the park to be very clean. And I do always advertise my phone number at these meetings, 404-3057, and I get a lot of calls. And people do feel welcome to contact the trustees, and I think people do feel welcome to come to our meetings. I know when I walk in the door here a little bit before our meeting starts, I greet everyone that I see and come across and always say hello, and we always do welcome people here. Two of the interesting calls I received in the past 2 weeks, we had some folks that live on Galbraith Road had a fireworks display on Juneteenth and launched a lot of rockets and large mortars into the neighborhood behind that section of Galbraith Road, which they didn't know who to call. They did contact our police department. They called me later that evening, and I did go over and talk to them and to our residents. You may recall that Ohio changed their fireworks law in the past year, and I believe you're allowed to have residential fireworks now, but please try to keep them in your own yard. These folks had pieces of rockets, the plastic casings off of rockets, they'd hit roofs in the nearby neighborhood, so please be respectful of your neighbors when shooting off fireworks. And the other call I had was a little more interesting as far as off the highlight film of calls. If you go down to the Hamilton County Recorder's Office down on 138 East Court Street, there's a beautiful wall map of Hamilton County in 1915. And it's an original map, and it's kind of there on display. And I've looked at some of the roads in Colerain Township, and it shows Bierman Road going all the way through to Blue Rock, and it's been a dead end for my whole life. It shows Weiss Road going through from Hanley to Hubble, and it shows a lot of roads that were laid out and where there were right-of-ways, but some of these roads were never built or completed, or they may have been a cow path at one time, and the pavement was just never put in, but they are some right-of-ways that the county owns. And I had a resident inquiry about Google directing people down one of these streets across his property to get to the road on the other side. And I thought, well, I've never had that before, and that might be a Hamilton County engineer's issue, or it might be ours, but I thought I would look into it. And if you Google Map the directions to that, and you might check your own property and see if Google has anybody driving across your property to get somewhere. The subdivision I live in, Philno, I remember when that was built in the early 70s, and then the newer section of it was completed in the 90s. But there was a time that Hanley could get to Blue Rock by walking on Bierman Road, and there's just I guess the lesson here is there's a lot of right-of-ways out there that may have never been paved, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to resolve this residence issue with Google directions directing people across his 14 acres to get to the other side. So 513-404-3057, keep bringing them to me. I love this, the education that I personally get from dealing with so many of these residents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. A couple of items. Again, thank you to Pro Seniors for coming out. I experienced their services firsthand. They're fantastic. Thank you for Ms. Wright for volunteering. Thank you for the Colerain Chamber for also accepting my invite and coming out and talking baseball. I know in Cincinnati, baseball is a passion that this year has very little outlets. So maybe we can go to the Colerain Park for that. This is just kind of a housekeeping reminder because we're not used to it. August 2nd, we're having a primary here in Ohio. Don't forget to vote, but the registration deadline is July 5th, and we won't be meeting until after that. So if you need to change your voter registration, or if you have to do some housekeeping with that, on July 5th is the deadline in the state of Ohio. I said to Mr. Weckback, I had forgotten the current year Sunshine Training Certificate. I do that and have done it every year for the last probably 9 or 10 years. I sit as president of a couple schools, and that's required for that, so I get a little bit of double dip by also looking at it from a point of view of a Colerain resident and trustee. We talked a lot about the upcoming events in Colerain, but also July 8th, the movie in the park, just a reminder. Earlier this month, I had an opportunity to meet with Chief Mueller and Mr. Weckback regarding the QRT and expansion to deal with mental issues. And they're doing a lot of fantastic stuff, including a program called the Handle with Care program, which is a follow-up mechanism for students that experience trauma in schools. So it links first responders to schools and students. I think that's something that's sorely needed. And the phrase for this I found out, which many people may already know, is this whole idea of community paramedicine, that we need to link patients, caregivers, healthcare services, community resources. And from a point of view of somebody that's fiscally conservative, I think that this is kind of a wave of you might be spending more money today, but to save more money in the future, and also having an impact on people's lives at the same time. June 15th was the Hamilton County Solid Waste Policy Committee, an exciting 2.5 hours talking about Hamilton County's waste and their solid waste plans. So every I think it's 5 years, they have to come up and adopt a solid waste plan, and it covers such exciting topics as recycling, waste disposal, budget, outreach strategies, and some of the plastics that are now recyclable are not going to be recyclable soon, and that's going to be a big deal, and there's a big deal with how we dispose of hazardous materials. And the one thing I did notice, and I don't know if this is something that we've talked about or thought about, but I found myself this weekend having a lot of extra boxes that were broken down, and I had to dispose of them, not enough to fit in my street container. We don't have a recycling center here anywhere in Colerain, do we?
The MRF is located, the material recycling facility for Hamilton County is located in St. Bernard.
Okay, because I ended up taking them to Springdale, and they do have 3 or 4 recycling bins there that are on the property of Springdale with cameras. Actually, it's kind of an interesting. It's kind of a fun Saturday to take your extra boxes to the recycling bin.
Yeah, there was a time when we had roll-offs for recycling, but as you can imagine, not everybody uses it for the intended purpose.
And Anderson Township is having a similar problem. In fact, ready to get rid of them because of that. On June 22nd, at Mr. Mill's suggestion, I went to Colerain Training Center, the Colerain Fire Department, fantastic. I was there 2 years ago when we were trying to obtain federal funding to use it for police and DEA. And I'll be honest, I'm like, this thing, it's not going to last a year. We will get funded soon because the thing's going to cave in. And they have done so much work on that. It is fantastic. Their fire classes, EMT classes, they're in a partnership with Cincinnati State. This class that started in May has 59 people in it, which is just amazing. So all throughout the region, they're being trained there. And this is the important thing is that it's saving lives, but it's also a revenue neutral facility because of the money that they get in from Cincinnati State, and because of the sweat equity that a lot of fire folks put into it. It's not costing us. It's revenue neutral. And I got to meet one of the fire classes there who were getting ready to that day work on the fire tower, which they were real excited because it was like 102 degrees. So it's a fantastic partnership, and one of the things that I think is kind of the future of townships is to link with education units like Cincinnati State. On June 25th, I had a chance to speak to several of our state electeds regarding property issues, including property maintenance rules and challenges the township faces, and talked about the potential that we're working on here for rental registration. And at the state level, there seems to be an effort to, as Ms. Wright mentioned before, the repeat offenders, is to get a bigger stick in order to hit those. A lot of times we're limited to by what the ORC said. Well, there's some leadership now in Ohio Senate that very much wants to make these folks comply and wants to make it a little bit easier for the challenges that townships face. I found out something fascinating, that one of the members of the board of directors of Vinebrook was the lady that the individual that was president of ARC, which is in the financial world, that's a big important EFT that puts all kinds of money in things like Tesla and stuff like that. So they have deep pockets. So we're working on that rental registration too. Over the course of the month, I did have a number of calls and emails about speed issues. We talked about that and the impact unit and what's going to happen with that. And this was just put out today, and I don't know if Chief Denny can speak about this, but Fairfield's close enough that they're having an issue with 2011 or newer Kias and 2015 newer model Hyundais. And it's an online TikTok challenge to steal these cars because they've shown a way to steal them without the key. Fairfield had like 3 taken from one apartment building. So that if you have those kind of model automobiles, it suggests keep them locked, keep them in well-lit places, so that you don't experience the same. It's just kind of bizarre what the internet brings. And my final point, July 4th, encourage everybody to have a good time. The 4th is the birthday of our country, and and I don't know who said the quote, but it's one of the greatest quotes for me for 4th of July is freedom is nothing but a chance to be better. And it's a good opportunity, as sad as it may be, to start off the week to kind of line the route for firefighter paramedic Hayden and pay our respects for him, and realize that you can change things one person at a time. And July 4th is a fun event. It's a fun time. It's one of my favorite holidays. But freedom is nothing but a chance to be better, and hopefully we can take that into account. I apologize for the long report. I had so much I actually typed it up this time. Till it's summer. Thank you. All right. Fiscal Office.
Thank you, Board. I don't have a report tonight, but I would like to also say that I wish everyone a very happy and safe 4th of July. I will be at the fireworks display, and I'm looking forward to it. And also, may God continue to bless America. That's all I have.
Thank you. New business. We'll start with public safety.
So Sir, Mr. Corey will be delivering the first item of new business in public safety.
Good evening, Board.
Evening.
All right, we have our usual meeting for the junk and abatement for nuisance and ordering abatement. So we have before you tonight, resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement for the following properties: 2848 Brampton, 4419 Day, 3261 Deschler, 2909 Greenbrook, 9353 Laura Linda, 7184 Memory, 2566 Maryview, 10336 Moonflower, 10342 Moonflower, 3135 Niagara, 3227 Niagara, 3436 Niagara, 8349 Pippin, 12046 Pippin, 3494 Pool, 3226 Sovereign, 11448 Swissvale, and 2762 Wheatfield. The recommendation is the adoption of the resolution.
On my list, the first one listed is 2668 Springdale. Do you have that on there?
I do not have that.
It's on, it's on our list, yeah.
It's on the resolution.
Yeah.
Okay, so read 2668 Springdale into that. I just did, but it's on the resolution and you didn't mention it.
All right, you said, I'm sorry, 2668?
2668 Springdale
All right,
is
2668
is
Springdale,
what was
please.
formerly advertised when we advertised this the other day.
All right, thank you. Any motions?
I would motion we approve the resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement at the properties listed by Assistant Chief Cordy.
I'll second. Oh, somebody.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Keep it up. We're gonna get these folks to comply. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. The addresses that Officer Cordy, Assistant Chief Cordy listed will be declared nuisance and ordered abatement.
And Mr. Wallet, though it is listed under Public Services, I'd like to invite Mr. Miller to the podium to present the next item.
Mr. Miller, some exciting things happening in your old digs down at Cincinnati, huh?
This item comes under the Public Services, but I'm in the process of finishing up a grant application to SORTA. We all remember not long ago, the Hamilton County passed a sales tax that is now funding SORTA, and a portion of that is carved out for local roads and bridges to which we have opportunity to apply. And so we are going to be asking for a portion of funding to help us with Colerain sidewalks between John Rose and Shady Crest, and then Bus Bay pull-offs as well. And so that is what this resolution is applicable to. So this is a resolution authorizing the Township Administrator to prepare and submit a grant application to SORTA for transit infrastructure funds. And that would be for the sidewalks and bus bay that I mentioned. So it'll also allow him to execute any contracts with SORTA if we are successful in the awarding of those grants.
I motion that we approve the resolution authorizing Colerain Township to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund program and to execute contracts as required.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I thank you for going out and looking for any grants we can get to help us with any of these items to preserve our general fund.
I think we have a very good chance of securing some money on this.
Good job.
Outstanding. Thank you. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes. That passes 3-0. We can submit an application to participate in Transit Infrastructure Fund program. I guess we continue with development.
Yes, sir. Next is a motion requesting that the Board of Trustees to set a public hearing for July the 26th to consider a major amendment to Stone Creek Phase 1. So the Zoning Commission has recommended passage of this major amendment. It would establish a separate parcel for Starbucks apart from the current planned development. So it'll be a public hearing on July 26th.
So they just want to reparcel that front parcel.
That's correct.
Okay.
Carve that out of the PD.
Okay.
I motion that we set a public hearing on July 26th, 2022 for Zoning Commission Case ZA 2022-05, major amendment to ZA 22-005-003 Stone Creek Phase 1. That would be at 7 o'clock in the evening or anytime after 7 on July 26th.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion?
None.
All right, none. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. There will be a public hearing July 26, 2022 for a major amendment to Stone Creek Phase 1. Item B.
All right, and similarly, the Zoning Commission recommended passage of another amendment. This is a motion that's requesting the Board of Trustees to set a public hearing for July 26th to consider a major amendment to Stone Creek Phase 2. So there's 2 PDs at Stone Creek, so this is a separate one. They would create lot splits between Best Buy and the small strip mall that's faces Colerain.
I motion that we set a public hearing on July 26, 2022 for Zoning Commission Case ZA 2022-03, major amendment to ZA 2007-001 Stone Creek Phase 2.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
That would be any time after 7 p.m. at our July 26th meeting.
Mr. Baker?
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0, setting a public hearing on July 26, 2022 for major amendment to Stone Creek Phase 2. Item C.
Next item is a motion asking for the appointment of a new member to the Zoning Commission. It is with our regrets that Mr. Al Grody resigned as chair of the Zoning Commission, has served the township very well, but was needing to resign. And so we have 2 alternates that have been available, and they serve regularly. And they are, again, both very capable. That is Tim Bachman and Thomas Westfall. Again, both very competent and available to serve. And so it's a staff recommendation that Tim Bachman be appointed for commissioner position for that unexpired term that Mr. Al Grody has vacated that would end December 31st, 2026.
I motion that we appoint Mr. Tim Bachman to the Zoning Commission to fill the unexpired term of Mr. Al Grody.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there any discussions?
Mr. Grody, if you're out there watching, I have known you for a very long time, and congratulations on your retirement. I hope all the best things happen for you.
And thank you for your service to the Zoning Commission. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. Congratulations to Mr. Bachman. Congratulations to Mr. Bachman. Item D.
Item D is a motion that would authorize the township administrator to release an RFP to rewrite our zoning resolution. So it has not been updated comprehensively since 2006. The rewrite will better align it with our 2021 Imagine Colerain Comprehensive Plan.
I motion that we authorize the township administrator to release a request for proposals for comprehensive zoning resolution amendment.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
And once you get those proposals, we'll have a little bit more of a discussion on what exactly we want to do with it.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. We'll release a request for proposals for comprehensive zoning resolution amendment. Item E.
I'm going to preface this with some news on the demolition front. We received a letter just last week, from Matt Huffman, their Senate President for state of Ohio, and he wrote a letter to the Ohio Land Bank Association regarding the Building Demolition and Site Revitalization Fund. So we've been working through this process on demolitions since probably January, when we started meeting as a staff with fire department, code enforcement, and we made a list available to the land bank here locally, advised them. We had a number of properties that were potential for demolition. We've, again, gone through this process. We're here tonight again talking about these properties. And he said that Mr. Huffman had been assured that the department will be announcing the grant awardees for the county set-aside portion of this program by July 1st. So that's right around the corner. And we'll enter into the appropriate contract agreements with local entities by the end of July in order to start dispersing the grants. So that is the matching funds that we are dependent upon as we approach the properties that you have authorized demolition on. So once we get that award, we'll go out again, RFP, to anyone that would like to bid on those demos, and we'll bring those back again and finish that process. But again, we're several months out even from that. But with that news.
Can I ask a question before you proceed? So these three properties that are on the agenda, are we on a deadline to make sure we get those on the list right now?
Well,
To get matching funding, meaning if we delay any of these, is there a chance we would lose the funding for 22?
No, sir. These three properties, again, as you
They're already
know,
on the list that we've sent in.
Yeah, they were tabled as of June the 14th meeting, and waiting the process again to work through of communicating with the owners or the lien holders as to what their plans were. So we have three that you have authorized the township administrator to pursue demolition or receive a plan. That was part of the resolution. Submit a plan, file an objection within 30 days of this passage. So even if you pass all three of these tonight, the homeowner or lien holder still has the option of filing an appeal and laying out a plan that says, here's what I will do to remove the orders and bring it back into condition that is acceptable with our code in Colerain. So
I have a general question before we, so you mentioned an appeal and a plan. Are those two separate things that can be done?
I would say they're one and the same. They're part of the same process. If you were to pass a resolution tonight that says authorize the township to administrator pursue demolition as the resolution is written, then the homeowner or lien holder would submit an appeal and say, I would like to ask that be stayed in lieu of my plan to bring this property back into order with the code of Colerain Township.
Okay, so let me outline the remedies for the property holder.
Right.
The remedies basically at this point would be to appeal to the township with a plan.
Correct.
Would there be any other?
No, it says, so the language says the Colerain Township Board of Trustees hereby orders the owners of said property to demolish the structure within 30 days of today. If the building is not demolished, or if no agreement for removal, repair, or abatement of conditions on the property is reached between the township and the owners and lien holders of the property within 30 days after June 28th today, or if no appeal of the board's decision is filed on or before July 28th, that's 30 days, the Director of Development shall cause the building to be demolished. So there's A, fix it.
Right.
B, produce a plan for fixing it.
But it's the C appeal that I'm not sure what that means.
Or file an appeal. Say, I appeal that decision.
Who do they appeal to? What's the remedy? To the board?
Yep. It would be an administrative.
Administrative appeal, okay. All right, I just want to make that clear, what the remedies are for the property holders.
Yes.
Okay,
And again, just one more time to be very clear about
Right.
what the plan is. If you produce a plan, what that means is there are actions and that'll be completed by dates. With the goal of when we complete all those actions by those dates, the blight is gone, right? And it's fit for human habitation. That's what, these properties are not fit for human habitation as of when we started this. And so, I think that there are different properties on different tracks here, but the goal here is to remove the blight from the community, and if you produce a plan, it needs to have actions and dates. At the end of all of those, no more blight.
so just so we're clear here, and those actions have to pretty much point by point match what the property violations are. So that the plan, so we've got, the owner can demolish it or do nothing. They can try to work with us to come up with a plan, and by plan, you want specific how you're going to address each issue and a date.
In writing.
In writing. Or C is an appeal process, which is an administrative appeal.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that those are all very clear. So in the instance of somebody that, and we'll use Mr. Bardak's property, 3483, he needs to do the driveway. It rains, and the date the driveway, let's say, is going to be done. Can he come back to you and say, look, I had this scheduled? Is there a second plan, or is that the plan?
I would say give yourself leeway. So if you've got that scheduled for July 28th, give yourself a couple of weeks of lead time from when you think that it was going to be actually occurred. Because on that date, because what happens, and unfortunately I've seen this a lot, okay, and I'm not saying anything about the existing
yeah.
folks that we're talking about here, but the experiences that I've had previous is we're always moving the goalpost farther and farther. We get to the goalpost and nope, we're going to move it farther down. There's going to be a reason. There have been reasons why it just continues to go, and then years pass, still blight. Neighbors are still upset. I very vividly recall Mr. O'Brien, who would sit in that and he would call himself your patient resident, Mr. Tom O'Brien, because of the property in Laura Linda that was in awful shape, and that was next to him. So we understand the impact that this has on people's lives. And so this has been a 6-month process to date, right? And so lots of lead time, lots of engagement. We're continuing to engage, continuing to give options. Eventually, the property needs to be fit for human habitation.
Okay. I just want to lay out what the particular, so we're looking now at the, Mr. Miller, then if you want to introduce E, I guess.
So E is a resolution for the demolition of the property at 7954 Harrison Avenue. As you may recall, Mr. Winstrup, who was legal counsel for Miami Savings and Loan, appeared here in May and June and spoke of their intent to foreclose on the property and sell it at sheriff auction. So I have a letter from the purchaser. So she asked that I read it to you, relatively short, but she said, Honorable Board of Trustees, and I have spoken to her. Her name is Kimberly Hale McCarty. So I had a long discussion with her, I think a couple of times. As soon as she bought the property, she called and contacted me, and then she provided this for your consideration. On June 21st, 2022, I purchased the property located at 7954 Harrison Avenue at the Hamilton County Sheriff's sale. Shortly thereafter, the current lien holder, Miami Savings and Loan, put me in touch with Mr. David Miller of Colerain Township. Mr. Miller has made me aware of the trustees' June 14th resolution that orders the current owner, lien holder, to repair or abate, agree to demolish the parcel structure within 30 days from June 14th, pending any possible appeal of the board's decision, whereby if no action is made, the township will cause the building to be demolished. As the future owner of the property, I ask that you please temporarily pause any actions on the property, including demolition, until I take ownership of the property. As of now, I cannot legally enter in or upon the property until the court confirms the sale. At such time, it is my intention to address all open orders, which after evaluation could very well include demolishing the building. Regrettably, there is not a definitive timeline between auction date and sale confirmation. The sheriff's office is currently guesstimating 45 days. There does not appear to be an exact science to the process. In past experiences, one transaction took 12 weeks. I can commit to you that after taking title of the property, that I will eliminate all orders and subsequently maintain the property, with or without a building, in excellent condition. I have the wherewithal and financial resources to move immediately. Thank you for your consideration. And that is Kimberly Hale McCarty.
She's not submitted any plans whatsoever.
She has not, because she has not been able to gain access to it, does not know the condition of it, and has remained off premise because she didn't feel like she had the legal right to be on premise.
You're putting me in a spot because I went down there Sunday and looked at it. But let's get it to the floor first. I motion that we approve the resolution for the demolition of the property at 7954 Harrison Avenue.
Excuse me, I'll second that.
In my discussion would mirror Mr. Mills, we've been talking about this since January, and if she purchased that site unseen, I would have her know that there's a big pool off along Harrison Avenue, and there's a big gate open in the back. In the back of the building, there are doors the size of the doors in this room, which are probably 10 feet by 6.5, 7 feet high. The glass is completely broken out. It's just like in the pictures we were shown a few months ago. It is an imminent hazard of somebody entering that. It's wide open. You could drive a car up in there, and there could be people in and out of that building right now. There is trash everywhere. There is a abandoned pickup truck behind there that has an old Colerain Township sticker on it that we have yet to impound as we wind through this process. The bank, who was here a few weeks ago, apparently who must have had a right to go on the property, apparently took no action to at least get it boarded up so it's not an imminent hazard. There could be people in there right now as we speak at 8:46 in the evening, and I'm sure our fire and police probably need to know that that building is not safe at this moment.
If I might add to that, our own code enforcement has taken a contractor over there and abated much garbage. Lots, they hauled off one car. They were intending to remove the pickup as well. They haven't gotten that. You said you went this weekend?
I was there 48 hours ago.
Okay. So
Because
they
I wanted to.
They haven't removed that yet, but those costs will be added on
Right.
to the.
But I mean, it's a mess, and I'm going to support keeping the process moving, and you know, this starts the clock for her to have her, how many days, Jeff? 30 days to come up with a plan?
Yes.
And the place is a mess. That it's unsafe. It's wide open. Anybody could be going in and out of there. There could be kids down in the place. I'm not saying there is, but it is, these other two properties may be secured. I don't know, but that one is wide open and is not secured.
So theoretically, one would not need access to come up with a plan to address these issues. You go through what the violations are and say, all right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to clean out the garbage. I'm going to move the car.
That could be part of her plan. I think, as Ms. Simpson has noted, that she has spent time inside her house addressing those issues from the fire while not having addressed the outside issues that the code violations were attached to.
Okay. So, 2 weeks ago, I think I tried to get a third way here and issue a little bit of a reprieve for people to put together plans. And I think I made the comment that this is their last chance. And I tend to agree with Mr. Unger that we go ahead and get the clock ticking. Doesn't mean that people can't see you, can't see Mr. Mills, can't see Mr. Weckback and get this figured out and get it on paper. But when I said last chance, I meant it.
So hopefully she'll get a plan together.
Yep.
I mean, quickly.
Any other comments? All right, call the vote.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller.
Yes, that passes 3-0. Item F.
All right, next item is the resolution for demolition of the property at 3483 Niagara Street. As you know, the owner, Ms. Samika Simpson, has spoken tonight. She and I did speak today extensively about the issues on the property and what I think you have all noted as well, and of course, Mr. Mills, that a plan is necessary. As she noted, she was spending her time rehabilitating the fire damage inside and not addressing the code violations on the outside. So today was the first contact that I had had with her, and again, based on miscommunication. So,
And my understanding is we've been adjudicating issues at this property since at least 2020 in housing court. So this is things don't get to this level overnight. It takes time. And so we've been dealing with this property for several years in housing court.
the fire did occur, I believe, approximately 3 years ago. She has insurance revenue that she's using to rehab the building.
I'll motion to get it to the floor. I'll motion to approve the resolution for demolition of the property at 3483 Niagara Street.
I'll second.
Discussion.
And I would say it sounds like you're in good contact with the owner, and you're helping them put a plan together. And hopefully this will be one that can be turned around. But at the same time, I do want to keep things moving along. As Jeff mentioned, we are over 2 years into it. And David's here, and that's why he is here, to help work on these things. And please continue to work with the owner and see if they can get it together, but with a written plan and a timeline of how this would happen. But I think we need to keep things rolling on it at the same time.
Yeah, I agree, written plan with specific dates and benchmarks.
And then, so that starts the 30 days to get a plan to us with a chance for appeal.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich.
Yes.
Mr. Unger.
Yes.
Mr. Waller.
Yes, that passes 3-0. Moving to item G.
And then the last item is a resolution for demolition of the property located at 3484 Niagara Street. The representative for the mortgage company appeared earlier, Mr. Bardak. And I'll note that I also spoke with the attorney that's representing the agency that is foreclosing on this property. So they have filed, that is in the process. As we all know, it takes a little bit of time for them to get control of that. They did note that their plan is to finish the driveway. I was told by the law firm that they have 2 to 3 weeks that contract will be completed on the repouring of the driveway. All other items, according to Mr. Cavallero, have been cleared, except for the photo of the soffit in the front of the house is just kind of buckled a little bit. That just needs a little nailing in, tapping, re-snapping, who knows. Very easy, but the driveway repour is the most significant, and they have that contracted. So the resolution is before you.
To get it to the floor, I motion we approve the resolution for the demolition of the property at 3484 Niagara Street.
I'll second.
So what is your recommendation?
My recommendation would be to table this one for 30 days.
Okay.
Just because they have shown the due diligence
Right.
thus far with the removal of all of the orders that are pending. But if we table it for 30 days, that gives them time to get the driveway redone and file for vacant building as well, to get that registered with us. And I think that puts it back into right status.
So the difference between this and the other two is that you have a plan with specific dates.
That's correct.
I don't know, Mr. Unger, if you'd like to withdraw your motion?
Well, we could, supposing we vote no, does that mean we can bring it back up at a later date, or
Well,
what would that do?
that gives it 30 days for them to submit that plan, correct? And in that 30 days, then we can remove it, correct?
They have submitted a plan.
Well, but he doesn't have the exact date of the driveway.
Yeah, it was
They just
just,
don't have
it
the-
was,
You need
they
exact
said 2
dates.
to 3 weeks is when the contractor was.
Can we get a
scheduled.
copy of the contractor's bid? Is that been filed?
I don't know, Mr. Bardak?
I'm happy to supply a copy if you like. I just don't have the documentation. I know
Okay.
they've been contacted. Two or three contractors were approached. A couple said they couldn't do it. They didn't have materials, so we finally found the third one. I'm happy to get you whatever documentation you like.
If we have anything specifics, what size the concrete drive is going to be and when they propose to do this. So that's probably all we're going to need.
Well, and I think that if they're going over the sidewalk, they would need to take out a permit from Colerain
Right.
Township, which when I
So
redid my
I only have
side.
a partial picture of the driveway, and so I only see this portion of the house. I don't see if it goes over the driveway. It looks like a muddy driveway.
I see what you're talking about.
So if we have, like, what they're gonna do, oh, shoot, it just went out. And if, I don't know if that's,
Just a couple weeks.
Haven't done anything.
I think that's the plan we can do, and that's we can come back
Trustee
and,
Unger, I would recommend if tabling it as opposed to.
okay,
So
table
do
it.
do I withdraw my motion or make another motion to
I thought-
table? or-
Table, you can amend to move the table if you want.
Okay,
I will move, so we don't have to vote on the first one, just
Okay.
move to table.
Well, you can withdraw it and then move the table.
Right, I think you have to withdraw your motion and then,
And that's your recommendation, just give this project another, because you've got
I think we
a
can
lot of
go another 2
documentation.
weeks, just like we just did.
okay. For
And
him
I
to
think
get
that
us,
would give them time to submit that plan.
and, because this picture's almost 6 months old, so they've been maintaining the property also with grass cutting, so I think they've shown due diligence for,
So what
Give
would we
them
do,
time.
put this back on for the next meeting, 2 weeks from now?
In 2 weeks, we'd just recycle it back on.
okay.
2 weeks, what I'm hearing is that I heard 3 weeks for the concrete. So, I mean, I just saying, I'm not sure that the plan is a written plan. And so, it's one of those things where I would say, if you're going to table it 30 days, not
Okay.
2 weeks. Table it to the second meeting in July. But if you vote yes on this, then you would also give 30 days to provide a written plan.
That's why I seconded, because they have 30 days, right?
Yeah. So whatever, it's a pleasure of the
Whatever
board. We will-
our legal counsel tells us to do.
And if it
The
If
decision's yours as far, I mean, you can
If it
go either
goes,
way.
if it
Okay.
doesn't pass, then what does that do? If the resolution doesn't pass?
Well, then,
We stop.
yeah. And
I
don't
think it
know-
has to
I don't
start
know if
over
there have
again.
been-
Yeah, we would
Yeah, I don't know
stop.
if the process, there, off the top of my head, whether there were notice requirements that, if you table it, the notice requirements are still in play because obviously there's been no vote, so they've been put on. It's
Okay,
just
so
continued.
probably
That's why I
not,
recommended
probably not
tabling it.
vote it down at this point.
I would concur with Mr. Mills to go ahead and extend it 30-day
Okay.
table. That leaves the resolution available for bringing back with the proper notices that we've already provided.
So-
And then it
so-
gives the lien holder the time to get us the information and a plan.
A legal contract that the contract has been submitted for concrete repair on this house.
So what would I, motion to table it till the
No,
July?
you need a motion to withdraw your original motion.
Right, Scott? Motion to withdraw my original motion and
You can
then,
go ahead and just withdraw,
okay.
there's not a motion.
I will go ahead and withdraw my motion and I'll offer another motion to table it until, would the July 22nd meeting fall within the?
You can table it to whenever you'd like.
You said 30 days, so let's just do the 30.
Well, that's-
Second meeting in July is the 26th, I believe. Well,
Yeah, we have the same days, and
I think that's enough time, is it? To go to July, I mean, just as far as,
that, I have not seen, and here's what I'm saying, is I haven't seen any plan, I've heard 2 to 3 weeks. I believe that they're operating in good faith. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I mean, who knows what we're gonna see in 30 days. But the second meeting in July would allow for the bank to demonstrate that they're making good on their promise.
Okay, then with the first motion having been withdrawn, then I'll motion that we table this to the second meeting in July, which is on the
26.
We'll be together that night and be in a position to make a decision on it. So I motion that we table this to the July 26th meeting.
Are there any seconds?
No second.
All right, any discussion?
Thank you for staying on top of it, David. We'll, please keep us and Administrator Mills updated on it.
So I guess I'm still unclear before I vote here. Was there a plan submitted to you or not a plan?
I do not have a written plan with
Okay.
dates. Mr. Bardak has committed to provide a copy of the contract for the re-pour of the concrete for the driveway. Once that's done, and they'll tack up the soffit and they'll be through with all orders. They'll be cleared at that point.
So we do have an internal report that shows that a lot of this has been cleared.
That is correct.
Yes, we do.
So that, we do have that in writing,
Right, but yeah,
but there's just a couple more items.
I understand that, yeah. I just, those items were finished. Those were completed for last meeting too. Those were completed by last meeting. All right, Mr. Baker?
Ms. Ulrich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes. That passes 3-0.
So
All right.
it's tabled to the 26th.
26.
July.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Administration, we have several items here.
Yes, sir. The first item of new business in administration is a motion authorizing the Township Administrator to execute a service order and all necessary agreements with Immersion Design LLC for architectural and engineering services for the construction of Fire Station 26 and Fire Station 102. The Board of Trustees approved the release of a scope of services document for architecture and engineering services for the reconstruction of Station 26 and 102. Work session dedicated to the funding of these stations occurred on June 14th at 6 p.m. and where we got clear direction on how we were going to pay for these two items. Based on the staff review of the responses to the RFP, we are recommending a motion to enter into this agreement with Immersion Design. Below are the likely next steps, depending on the final motion by the trustees. In July of this year, we will bring an item to the trustees to establish a capital project fund for these projects. We will transfer cash into the capital project fund. This capital project fund will be a new fund in our chart of accounts that will be used to pay for the construction of the project. And we will release a RFQ to find the construction manager at risk, which is referred to as CMAR. In August of this year, we intend to review CMAR qualifications, and then hopefully in September of this year, bring a recommendation for a construction manager at risk. It is our belief, and this is a little optimistic, but it is our belief that by the end of 2024, we can have both firehouses constructed.
I won't hold you to it, but
I will.
Phillips brings it.
I know you will.
So I motion that we authorize the Township Administrator to execute a service order and all necessary agreements with Immersion Design Limited Liability Corporation for architectural and engineering services for the construction of Fire Station 26 and Fire Station 102, which more commonly known as Galbraith Road and Dunlap.
Yep.
Which would, final site selection is likely somewhere on Generation Drive?
For 102, yes.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, any discussion?
Exciting to see what they come up with.
Yes.
No other comments?
So I think you went through a process of interviewing firms. How many firms did you interview for this?
3.
And that was what brought you to Immersion?
Yeah, so there were a number of distinguishing characteristics. One was experience with emergency buildings. So they have experience designing these types of buildings, but so did, for example, KZF. And the other firm was App Architecture. All of them were good. We sort of narrowed it down to two, and I think that both KZF and Immersion would have done a great job, but we've done business with both of those firms in the past. I think on this project, what we liked the most was the vision that was articulated by the team, and it synced very much with the vision of the chief and the chiefs and administration, and we believe that they are uniquely situated to get this done on time, on budget, and I believe that their fees were just a touch. The range of fees were just a touch below KZF as well. So we've had great experience in the past with them, and we believe that they will do well again.
Is there a local fire station that they built that?
Yes. Westchester Station 73.
Okay. And so we talked to them and
Yep. And
extremely satisfied?
Very. And we've checked references, and frankly, all three firms, I want to
Right.
reiterate, all three firms were fantastic, and they have all done fire stations. But I think that Immersion's vision and team will be able to execute to keep this on time and on budget. Time is money in this, with inflation and cost of materials, and getting these projects accomplished fast is the goal here.
Mhm.
That's why we did construction management at risk, because it compresses the timeline and saves money. So.
Awesome.
Any additional comments?
None.
Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. To enter into a service order and necessary agreements with Immersion Design for architectural and engineering services for construction of Fire Station 26 and 102. Item B.
Thank you, Board. This is a really exciting item because it's an item that highlights the success of many of the programs in Colerain Township. This is a resolution for your consideration which will dissolve the We Thrive group. Colerain Township's partnership with Hamilton County Public Health in the We Thrive program has been an unmitigated success. It has supported programs such as the Quick Response Team, which is a national model for dealing, with overdoses, Colerain Give Back Day, which continues to help folks in our community in need, COVID response, fall prevention, Little Library book donations, Colerain Community Health Awareness, early referral programs, and others. All of these programs are now operating independently and no longer need government support, which is really the goal here, right? Is to have self-sustaining programs that can continue to do good in our community. And so they are all able to exist on their own. The work of the We Thrive team is accomplished and will continue in all of the private settings that it exists in now. And so this resolution suggests the dissolution of the We Thrive team.
I motion that we approve the resolution dissolving Colerain Township's partnership with Hamilton County Public Health's We Thrive program.
I'll second his motion.
Any discussion?
It sounds like we've got a lot of these handled by smaller private groups. It's kind of the old, as one of the former presidents used to say, the 1,000 points of light that's out there, and it's gone along pretty well.
That's right. And we are so grateful for
Something better handled privately than by a government entity.
So what would be the route if someone, these programs are set, what would be the route for someone who comes up with a new idea along those lines?
You don't need, if you have an idea, you don't need the government to support your idea. You can just do it. And you know what? A great example of that is the Side by Side group, who has endeavored to raise, as you heard tonight, over 75,000 books for children in our community. They never came to the government and said, hey, we need you to do this. They just did it, right? And that's something that we see throughout our community, in our faith community, our churches, our neighborhood organizations. There are so many people in our community that just do good things, and they don't need the government to do it. And as I recall, we had a real difficult community meeting one year, a long time ago, with Northbrook, and there was a lot of finger pointing. You need to do this. You need to do this. And And
That was before any of us were here, by the
way
way.
before. Yeah,
Okay.
this is years and years and years ago. And from that, what we realized was there are some things that work great when government does it. Plowing snow, arresting bad guys, putting out fires. Those are things that we are uniquely situated to do. There are other things that neighborhood groups are uniquely situated to do, and there's some things that we can do together. But there's 3 buckets, right? And so if you have a great idea, I would encourage you to do it. It's that simple. Make a difference. And there are people making a difference in our community every day.
All right, any other comments? Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that is a 3-0 to dissolve We Thrive. Item C.
Yes. The next item is a motion to establish a public hearing on the 2023 tentative tax budget on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. This is the first step in the 2023 budget process, and it's due down to the county auditor on July 20th, 2022.
Any motions?
I motion that we establish a public hearing on the 2023 tentative tax budget on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022 at 7 o'clock.
I second.
Discussion?
It sounds like it'll keep us on the right timeline to get this to the county auditor on time, as long as we have the hearing that day, and then it would be approved when? In an action item later that evening?
Yes.
Okay. No other comments?
Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes. Passes 3-0 to establish a public hearing on July 12th, 2022 for the tentative tax budget. Old business, I believe there is none.
No old business, sir.
All right, you have in the packet for this evening 3 consent items, A, B, and C, 2 contracts and a new hire.
Yes, sir. The first item on the consent agenda is a contract with OpenGov for professional services. This is a zero-cost contract that provides professional services in support of our OpenGov system. The second is a contract with Arcoro, which is our Human Resources Information System. This contract allows our HRIS, or Human Resources Information System, to communicate with our benefits administrators. The contract is listed in its entirety in the agenda. There is also a new hire for part-time firefighters and EMTs in the Department of Fire and EMS. There are 4 part-time firefighters who have received a conditional offer of employment: Jeff Wolf, Angela Plozet, Brooke Spinsnagel, Jonathan Swikey, pardon me. The wage for this job is $14.94 per hour for up to 30 hours per week, contingent upon board approval. They'd be eligible to begin work on June 29th. So the recommendation is to approve all consent items.
I motion that we approve the consent items. I'm going to get to that when we get to discussion on it. It's here in the agenda.
It's here in the agenda for $2,000.
All right, we have a motion and need a second at this point.
I motioned
second.
for it, and Kathy seconded.
All right? Discussion.
The Arcoro contract, software services, is for
$2,000.
And the first item on the OpenGov is a credit from OpenGov for $5,375, because part of that is we get 25 hours of service.
They're waiving the cost. Basically, they're giving us a
Right.
credit, so it's a zero.
Right, it's a
cost.
zero-cost contract. It says 25 hours at $215 an hour, and then one-time credit, $5,375. So both of those items and the salaries for the wage for the employees that we are hiring have all been read into the record.
Any other discussion?
None.
None.
All right, so then we're voting on the consent items. A, contract OpenGov professional services, which is a zero contract, zero cost. B, contract with Arcoro professional services, $2,000. C, new hire part-time firefighter, EMT, Department of Fire and EMS at
$94.
$14.84 an hour. 94 an hour, $14.94 an hour. Check that, 94 an hour.
And 30 hours a week.
And 30 hours a week. Mr. Baker?
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. The consent items A, B, and C pass 3-0. Is there a need for an additional executive session?
No, sir.
Are there any motions?
I motion that we adjourn the meeting at 9:14 PM.
I'll second that.
Okay, sorry, I was looking to make sure it was 9:14.
That's what time Verizon says it is.
Yes, that's what
Mr. Baker?
Verizon says it to me.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes, that passes 3-0. We are adjourned at 9:14. Thank you.